The Bible's second book, called Exodus, tells about the life and purpose of a man named Moses. Around 1500 BC, Egypt was ruled by a pharaoh and was inhabited by both Egyptians and Hebrews. King Pharaoh was afraid of the Hebrews taking over his country. Pharaoh ordered for all Hebrew babies to be killed at birth so they wouldn't grow up and rebel against him. Moses' parents tried everything possible to prevent him from falling into the hands of Pharaoh's men. Therefore, she made a small, waterproof basket in which she hid Moses beside the Nile River. One day, King Pharaoh's daughter came out to the river to take a bath in the cool waters of the Nile. Soon after, she found Moses, and she tried to figure out a way that would enable her to keep him and save him from death, for she knew that the baby was from a Hebrew descent. Moses was then taken to the royal court, where he grew up as the princely adopted son of King Pharaoh's daughter. One day, Moses lost his temper and killed an Egyptian who had beaten a Hebrew to death. Shamefully, Moses ran away from Egypt to another land. There, he became a shepherd and grew older. One day, God spoke to Moses from a burning bush and told him he had to go back to Egypt to free the Hebrews from slavery and take them to the promised land of milk and honey. So Moses did as God told him and went to Egypt to ask Pharaoh to free the slaves. Pharaoh did not want to free the slaves. Suddenly, awful things began to happen to Egypt. This was when God sent the 10 plagues. Before each one, Moses would warn Pharaoh of what was to come. The last plague was the worst. The eldest son of every Egyptian family, including the Pharaohs, died. It was until he lost his son that Pharaoh said the Hebrews were free to leave Egypt. However, the joy of freedom did not last very long for the Hebrews. As they were leaving Egypt with Moses, Pharaoh changed his mind and sent his army after them to bring them back. The army chased the Hebrews to the banks of the Red Sea. Moses and the Hebrews would have been trapped, but a miracle happened. God told Moses to lift up his rod, and as he did, the waters of the Red Sea parted to make a dry path, and they were able to escape. When all the Hebrews were safely at the other shore, Moses lifted his rod again, and the waters of the sea closed on Pharaoh's army who had been chasing them. Even though they were free, the Hebrews were still in the desert. They wanted to find a land called Canaan, which God had promised them. Their journey was long and they soon ran out of food. They became angry with Moses and blamed him for taking them out of Egypt, but Moses told them that God would always provide. After 3 months of traveling, the Hebrews came to the foot of Mount Sinai. God called Moses to go to the top of the mountain. When he got to the top, God gave Moses 2 stone tablets and 10 laws which told people how to live. The people down at the foot of the mountain grew tired and angry waiting for Moses and decided to create their own God. So they melted all of the jewelry and with it built and carved a statue of a golden calf. And they worshipped the statue day and night. When Moses came down from the mountain, he was shocked and angry when he saw what the people were worshiping. He destroyed the statue with the 2 stone tablets and asked God to forgive his people, which he did. God then called Moses to once again climb to the top of the mountain to receive the 10 commandments, and Moses then promised God that the Hebrews would keep all of these commandments. Moses and the Israelites then continued their journey towards Canaan, the promised land, and eventually arrived in the land of Moab. There, Moses climbed the heights of Mount Nebo and gazed upon the promised land. The Lord then said to him, "This is the land of which I swore to give Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to your descendants. I have caused you to see it with your eyes, but you shall not cross over there." Moses was not allowed to step foot in the promised land because he had sinned against the Lord, striking the rock twice with his staff to obtain water instead of simply speaking to the rock to obtain water as God had instructed. You can find this in Numbers 20, 7-12. Moses then died there, according to the word of the Lord, and was buried in a valley in the land of Moab. He was 120 years old when he died. To this day, no one knows his grave.